get away from people. In the outside world, turn off the lights, put on your headphones, enter my darkness. Fear awaits you. The man said, "We've traveled a long way for this visit. Could you allow us to come in for a little while to rest? We will leave later." I felt sorry for them as they both looked exhausted, and it was getting late. I couldn't recall that phrase my mother always repeated, "Never open the door for strangers." I let them into the guest room and quickly went to my room to call my father to tell him about the situation, but the network was down. My sister said, "Give them some water. They look tired from the journey." I went to the guest room, but I didn't hear any sound, movement, or even breathing from them. Why did I let them in? I didn't know. How foolish I was. How could I forget what my mother always said? How would I get them out of the house now? I entered the living room with my little sister and gave them water. The man asked, "What's your name?" while resting his hand on his chin as if he were thinking about something. The woman tugged at him again to whisper something in his ear. After that, the man said, "My son, why did you allow us into the house?" I was too frightened to answer. Then the man said, "My son, my wife needs to use the bathroom." I said, "Yes, of course." I stood to show the woman where the bathroom was, but the man stopped me saying, "No, my son. My wife is afraid of strange men, and I don't allow anyone to accompany her. Would you allow your sister to accompany her?" I looked at my sister, who was sitting quietly, visibly scared. The man asked again, "Do you allow it or not?" I nervously said, "The bathroom is on the left side of the room at the end of the hallway." The man spoke to the woman in another language, and she got up and walked towards the door. But her walk was strange, as if the wind was pushing her towards the door, which terrified me. The woman was floating above the ground. The man shouted in a harsh, loud voice, "Don't look at my wife." I quickly turned away, feeling as if I had committed a crime. But I understood that he was just protective of her. The woman came towards us quickly, and I didn't know how those few seconds passed. She whispered suspiciously to the man again, and he said, "My wife doesn't know how to open the door. I beg you, allow your sister to go with her and open it for her." What is this man saying? The door is normal and easy to open. I looked at my sister and said, "Come back quickly," because I was genuinely scared. The man spoke to the woman again in incomprehensible words. The woman and my sister left the room. Then the man said, "She's a foreigner and doesn't understand Arabic." I was filled with fear for my little sister. All I could think about was her safe return. Time seemed to pass quickly, so I got up to follow my sister. The man shouted, "Where are you going?" I looked at him nervously. What is he saying? It's my house and I can do as I please. I ignored him and followed my sister and the strange woman. The man spoke in a weird voice. "Are you more afraid of the dark or of death?" I looked at the man in terror. His gaze was unsettling, and I felt frozen in fear. Suddenly, everything went dark. The lights went out and I could see nothing at all. I bumped into the door of the room and ran towards the guest bathroom, calling for my sister. I heard no response. I opened the bathroom door violently and called out for her, screaming, "Where are you, sister?" I was startled by sounds coming from the guest room next to me. I heard a hissing sound, and the woman dressed in black was jumping around the room. She started climbing the stairs. I felt so slow, overwhelmed by fear. I rushed upstairs, opened the rooftop door, and closed it behind me as soon as I entered. I sat there crying in terror, unsure of what to do. What was that woman doing, and where could I find my little sister? Was that woman crazy, or was she a djinn? The moonlight made it easier to see on the rooftop. I went down to the bathroom window, opened the door, and looked inside the washing machine. I said, "It's me, your brother. Don't be scared." My sister ran to me and hugged me tightly, trembling with fear. I felt relieved, but still afraid. We were still in the house. We exited through the back door, using the back stairs to the street. I held my little sister's hand as she walked behind me. I remembered our maid, who slept on the rooftop. They always say, "Never open the door at night to strangers. Never open the door to strangers at night." But they never tell you why. Do you know the reason? It's because perhaps those strangers aren't human at all. They come from another world, far from your own, from the dark realm. They only knock on doors at night. They only speak to people at night. And they only seek you at night to play their twisted games with you. Now, do you understand why you must keep your house locked at night and never open the door? I sat crying in terror, not knowing what to do next. What are the man and woman doing? Where will I find my little sister? Where will I find my sister? That woman is either crazy or a djinn. The view on the roof was easier due to the moonlight. I went down to the bathroom window, opened the door, and looked inside the washing machine. I said, "I am your brother. Don't be afraid." And she rushed toward me, hugging me tightly, scared. I felt reassured, but I was still afraid, for we were still in the house. We exited through the back door, via the back stairs to the street. I was holding my little sister's hand, who was walking behind me. I remembered our maid who slept on the roof. I told her, "Don't worry about her. We will leave and then come back." She replied with fear, "But they will get to her, brother." I said, "Don't be afraid, sister." I locked the roof door. I don't think the woman knows how to open doors, and I hope her husband is the same. We barely escaped, and I won't go back to put myself and my sister in danger. I'll call the police once we manage to get out. I thought the woman didn't know how to open doors, and I hoped her husband didn't either. We barely escaped, and I wasn't going back to risk my sister and myself. I called for help once we were out. "Don't be afraid, sister." Finally, we reached the building's door. Thank God they hadn't locked it. We ran quickly through the small garden outside the house, just steps away from the main gate. My sister said, "I can't run. I'm tired, brother." Suddenly, all the windows of the house opened at once. The lights came on, and then all the lights shut off again. Then they flickered back on, as if someone was toying with the electricity inside, and there was a loud, terrifying hissing sound. I grabbed my sister's hand and carried her on my back. But before I could take a step outside, I was shocked to see a huge figure blocking the front door, like a wall. I realized from his stillness that it was the strange man. I heard his voice saying, "Are you more afraid of the dark or of death?" He began muttering strange words at a rapid pace. Then, raising his arm, he pointed toward the roof. I looked up, and there I saw something hanging, tied by a rope around the neck. It was the maid, hanged and dead. Then a woman dressed in a black abaya appeared, her long black hair covering most of her face. She floated across the ground as if someone was pushing her from behind. She muttered incomprehensible words and stared at us with eerie, frightening eyes. Her husband, behind me, was exchanging the same words with her, laughing as they both drew closer. The house was emanating strange lights. I couldn't feel my legs at that moment. I collapsed to the ground in fear, screaming along with my little sister, crying out, "Oh God!" And then a voice grew louder. "Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar," the call to prayer for dawn from a nearby mosque. The man and woman froze. They stopped, silent. Then the rest of the mosques began echoing, "Allahu Akbar." Their expressions changed drastically, from frowns to anger. The man said in fury, "You will pay the price." and then they both vanished instantly, along with his wife. I was trembling as I looked up at the maid, and my sister had fainted on the ground. The police arrived, along with my father and mother. They ruled the maid's death a suicide. No one believed me about the djinn and his wife. They said the reason my little sister lost her mind and went insane was because she had seen the maid's suicide. I tried to move on with my life, but I still have an intense fear of the dark. I keep hearing the djinn's words echo in my mind. Are you more afraid of the dark or of death?